Requirement Yogi publishes this month a new feature that will enable a lot of possibilities on the cloud: the linear documents. Specifications are often written in a linear way that looks just like this one. Instead of writing tables, requirements are written in paragraphs. With linear documents, we consider that every requirement is represented by a title and includes all its body until the next title and has dependencies with the parent and child titles. Thanks to this feature, you will be able to integrate documents sent by your customers into your information system, as well as all kinds of documents that apply to you, such as contracts, laws, or even public standards. Let's get started on how to use it. First off, this feature requires your content to already be in Confluence. If your document is in Word or PDF, then you will need to import it to Confluence yourself. We can suggest Confluence's native Word import located in the template panel, which is able to import every chapter of your document as separate pages. Another way is to use the copy-paste. Once imported, please ensure that titles are actual headings and not just bold text. If necessary, Confluence has a keyboard shortcut for headings, which makes it quite fast to format the titles. The linear document feature is activated by the presence of the Requirement Yogi configuration macro when a configuration is selected in the tab Document. When opening the dialog, choose a name and description for the configuration, which you can reuse across documents. Alternatively, this dropdown allows you to select an existing configuration. You could stop the tutorial right there and just click on Save, but we'll go into more details. Choose a prefix and suffix for your requirements. To help with reusing configs across pages, there are variables that you can use, for example, the capitals of the page title. The middle box contains the structure of the requirement. Here, the numbering will mean that we will use the title's hierarchical numbering. In this second part of the dialog, you can add more structure between the requirements using some properties and dependencies. We will go over those three types of relationship later in the video when we will show the traceability matrix. The last part of this configuration is only useful if your original titles do not have a numbering. You can tick which titles require generated numbers and define a pattern. It is possible to use uppercase and lowercase letters, numbers, and Roman numerals. If your document is split on several pages, you can specify the number of the first title. Some titles, such as the introduction or foreword in our example, are not requirements and do not need a key. You can choose to ignore some titles by ticking those checkboxes. Once the configuration is done, save it and then save the page. Although no requirement key is visible, the link at the top of the page will redirect you to the search within the correct syntax to display all requirements in this page. If you do not wish to display this text, change the toggle in the config dialog. As a side note, if you do not see requirements for your page, please check that all of your titles have numbers. If you notice that the requirement number 2 is just after the number 11 in alphabetical order, it is worth editing the configuration to add padding zeros. We can now move to the most interesting part, the traceability matrix. This is where you will be able to build your reports and see exactly what we include in the requirement. First, you can start with top-level requirements using the search syntax @level equals first. The level property helps you categorize titles. If you want to display the title of the requirement, open the cog menu of the first column and click Description. If you want to see the whole content of the requirement, click on Properties and choose Content. You can see that images are included in the body. If you want to see the children of requirements, click on From Dependencies, Section, and go several layers deep. You can see that dependency in the configuration, but it is not mandatory. It is also possible to start the matrix with the children. Use the search syntax @level equals last. If you want to see the context of those children and display the hierarchy of the titles before this requirement, click on Property and Section. If you remember, this is also set up in the configuration macro. You can of course add more columns if you have created dependencies to requirements on other pages, spaces, Jira issues, and more. We would now like to add a few words on administration and permissions. Only administrators of the space and the user that added and created the document configuration in the first place can edit its settings. If you have edited your document and created new titles or deleted them, if you are using this configuration on another page, You will be able to see those titles at the bottom of the config dialog and delete them. If you want to edit the name and description of a saved configuration, you can do so by going in the Requirements tab under Administration and Configuration Macro. We hope that this feature will allow you to do great things with your specifications. As it was just released, there should be some bugs hidden around. If you encounter some or have questions on the feature, please communicate with us as much as possible through support tickets. You can also view our other tutorials if you want to become an expert at Requirement Yogi.